Hello. It is now 1:01, so we can go ahead and get started. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, because I can't see anything on this screen. Awesome. So if you are here for the Neighborhood Assistance Program 2022 Post Award webinar, you are in the right spot. My name is Desiree Island, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Just a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. If everyone could please keep your microphones on mute, that would be great. Also, if you have any questions that come about during this webinar, feel free to type them in the chat. I have Alexa, who is here from IHCDA. She's our graduate assistant. She will be assisting me with monitoring that chat. And this webinar will also be recorded and it will be posted to the NAP website probably by the end of next week. Okay, so on the agenda today, we are going to just do a quick intro about IHCDA. We have Lisa Ditchley who will come on and she will talk about IHCDA online and just getting all the agencies set up with that. We'll do a summary over the NAP program, go over some policy and donor information. Then we will discuss record keeping, reporting, and any additional steps as you run your NAP tax credit program year. Okay, so IHCDA, our vision for Indiana, in Indiana, we work with a sustainable quality of life for all Hoosiers in the community of their choice. Our mission is to provide housing opportunities, promote self-sufficiency, and strengthen communities. And for collaboration, associates contribute to status as an industry leader by actively seeking collaborative opportunities with colleagues and partners to achieve shared goals, maintain acceptable risk levels while promoting trust, open communicating, and learning. So that is just a few items from IHCDA. Now, Lisa, I will hand it over to you. So I will stop. Do you want me to stop sharing, Lisa, so that you
Yeah,
can
that'd be
share?
great. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. Thank you, Desiree. Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my camera not being operable at this time, but I'm going to share my screen, so it really doesn't matter anyway. I'm not sure how many of you have been through the NAP program before or had to use the online system for anything at all. I am banking on the fact that Desiree has told you that you have to establish a profile if you have not already. If you currently have a profile, then you probably have been in contact with me in one way or another prior to this meeting. So what I'm going to do is just demonstrate how to enter your donors so that you know. If any of you do not have a profile, Desiree, can I get someone to type in that chat, the claims inbox address, so that we have that available to them? If you don't have a profile, you can send me your name and just say, hey, I need to establish a profile. Here's my organization. And I will get back with you and send you the info you need to establish your profile. Once your profile is established, at the end of the first half or whenever your credits are sold in full, you will want to report to the online system. So I'm actually going to bring up our online system right now for you. And you can get there one of two ways. I send a link inside the information that I send you when you establish your profile, but you can also get there by going to IHCDA online. When you go to that website, this is what you will see. It will say Indiana Housing Online Management System, and you will click on Authority Online. You will enter your credentials. Can someone click your mute button, please? Can everyone make sure that you're mute? But there you go. Okay. Oh, it doesn't want to let me in. Perfect. All right. So once you log in, you put in your username and your password. You guys will come to this screen. This is called your program screen. You will not see all of these because many of you, some of you work for organizations that have several programs with us, and some of you are just strictly involved in the neighborhood program itself. So you will see once you get your credentials that you have this right here. This link is for NAP. You will click on it. So this is IHCDA's test site. So your award will actually start with 2022. If you were involved in the program last year, it began with the program year of 2021. So all of your awards will begin with 2022-NP- whatever number Desiree has designated for your agency or organization. So when you see, I'm using this one just as a test site today to walk you through the system. But in a perfect world, that would say 2022. That's what you will click on. It will take you to a screen that looks like this. This can be very deceiving. I get several emails about this every year. When it says no rounds are available at this time, this screen is just basically a bridge that gaps between funding years. So it really means nothing when it comes to reporting. For your reporting, you will want to go to NAP semi-annual reporting and click on that button. That's NAP semi-annual reporting. So on this screen, you have your Neighborhood Assistance Program semi-annual reporting screen. It'll tell you the award that you're claiming against, the status of the award itself. That should always read open. If it reads closed, well, you couldn't even get to that point because it wouldn't even show up on your screen prior. So ignore that I said that. Your award will be here. It'll say 2022-NP-005 or 007, whatever your number is. It will have your award start date and your award end date, and it will have a drop down that encompasses first half and second half. So if you are reporting on the first half and that is your goal, you will click first half. This is basically a checkbook of your award, and it basically tells you that for this award, you have whatever amount you were granted, and the total to be deallocated, reallocated, all your credits sold, and the remaining credits to be sold if you have a remainder. It will also on this side have the results for the period. If you sold 100% of your credits, then it's obviously going to say 100% of your credits are sold. It's basically just a 2,000 feet above view of your NAP award itself. Below that, you will see the Add Contributor box. So this is where you will type in all the data of whoever purchased those tax credits. You will provide their social security number, their address, their city, their state, their zip code, and how much they contributed, and the date. After you have all of that information in, you will click Add Contributor, and that contributor's name will show up underneath there. At any point in time, this contributors section will contain all of your contributors. You can delete them, but you can't add from here. All adding has to be done in the Add Contributor box. Once you've done all that, it would be great for me to tell you that there's a save button or a system message that comes on and says, hey, you've entered everything correctly. It doesn't, unfortunately. There's no AI built into this system. So basically, it's just a data management system. So any information that you put in the system is going to be maintained, and that's exactly what's going to be spit out. What I can tell you about this system is you do not want to go in here to report your credits sold until all of your credits have been sold and you are ready to enter every single contributor to sell all your credits for the first half. What happens if you were to come in here each and every time and just do one, then you would come in here the next time and it would not allow you to report. Again, the system was not initially built to handle a program such as Neighborhood Assistance Program. So you have to enter all of those collectively at one time. If you don't do that, then you will have to reach out to Desiree, and Desiree will have to go in and quote unquote reset your account so that you can enter all of them at the same time. Now you do have, I think, 25 minutes. You'll see this timer up here. I think it starts at 25 minutes to enter all those donors. And most of the time people don't have 1,000 donors, so you can do it in one sitting. And if for some reason you can't, or you get pulled away, just understand when it won't allow you to report on that half again, you'll just need to send an email to Desiree and ask her to reset that, or you can send an email to claims, the claims email address that was inside the chat, and we'll be happy to get that message to Desiree so that she can send that. You will repeat the same process for the second half, except when you come into the second half, obviously, you will click on second half. Nothing's different about the second half than the first half and how you have to proceed in reporting those contributors. Does anyone have any questions up to this point? It's a fairly simple system. The worst part is when you get in and you see this red message that says no rounds available when you go to your award. Please don't be deceived by that. Just understand you have to come up here to NAP semi-annual reporting to reach the actual reporting site. You are not required to supply any supporting documentation for the sale of your credits. So you do not have to upload anything. So that is really the entire process in a nutshell. Again, for those of you who do not have any profiles set up, you can email the claims inbox and you can send me an email and say, hey, I'm part of the NAP program this year. I'm new. I need a profile. And I will send you all of the information that you need. As long as you include your organization, I will send you your organization code. So when you go to get in that profile, you'll be able to see the award online. Also, as a side note, if you've never done business with us before, in order for you to see the award through the online system, you had to have been listed as the claims contact on the original agreement that you signed. So if you are new, or there's been a turnover, or they might have included your CEO or your any operating officer at all on there as contact, but you were not listed and you're the one that's going to be reporting the credits, I will need to know that as well, because then I will have to go into the system and make sure after we establish your profile that you are linked to that award so that you can see it online.
We've got a few questions.
Sure, go for it.
All right, Noah McLean.
Hi, thank you. On the donor contribution form, under credit computation, what number goes into the agreement number? Is that how much they have donated, or the number of the tax credits they are receiving?
I can answer that. And after Lisa is done kind of explaining the IHCDA online, we're kind of going to get into the main content of today's webinar. So I will show you exactly where that agreement number, but it'll essentially be at the top of your contract. That is the agreement number.
Thank you.
I think we had a few other questions.
I can go through the questions that are in the chat. I'll read them aloud.
Thank you.
So the first one is it new that you have to upload all the contributors at once? For the past several years, I have entered them in one at a time without issues.
You think you've been doing that, but each time that you were doing that, we were having to reset it for you. It's been this way for 5+ years. Yeah. You've dealt with Vita, you've dealt with Desiree, and you've dealt with Veronica. So if it works for you and you think that's how it's working, that's perfect, and you're not having to email anyone, that's fine. That's a huge thing with us, though. We get a lot of people that we have to reset things for, don't we, Desiree? Because they can't
Yes.
and they didn't report all of their credits at one time. So do it the way you normally do it, and if you need assistance, just reach out.
The second question in the chat is, what do you mean by first half and second half? Is this the same as the 60% deadline and the 100% deadline?
Yes, those are the same. They're just called different things. So the first half would be considered the 60% benchmark report, and then the 100% benchmark report is the second half.
The next question is, if all credits are sold in the first half, what do you do in the second half?
Okay, that's a good question. We're also going to cover that later. However, if you do sell all of your credits by December 31st, you do not have to complete a second half, which I don't even think the system will allow you to if you've sold 100% by that first half benchmark.
Yeah, you're right. It won't let you. Mm-mm.
The next question is, how long do we need to keep the donor recipient forms?
I believe in the manual we have 5 years just to hold on to those forms.
And then the final question in the chat for now is, would you please repeat what happens if I don't get everything entered in the 25-minute period?
Sure. If you don't get everything entered, which we really don't have a major problem with that, so I don't want anyone to panic about that. But if for some reason you get pulled away, just send an email to Desiree and just say, hey, I got pulled away. I had like 5 of my donors in. I need my system reset. And she'll just reset that so that you can enter them all again. It's not an issue at all.
Okay, thanks. Lisa, I have a question because I know I get this a lot. Um, if agencies have donated during the first half of, um, during the first benchmark, and the same donor donated during the second half benchmark, would they enter that person, that donor, in 2 times?
Well, that's kind of a program question, Des, but I think that for the most part, yes, because then it would just reflect that that person donated in the first half and the second half. You'd still
Okay.
have to account for that money. You know what I mean? So you'd have to have a contributor taking that percentage of the money. So yes, I would say you enter it twice, and if there's an issue where it's not showing up, we could probably figure that out pretty quickly. Yes, I would
Okay.
enter them. I would enter them on both halves.
All right. Thanks.
All right. If there's no other online questions, I'm going to jump off and let Desiree do her thing.
Oh,
Anyone
one more
else?
question. There's one
Sure.
more question in the chat. If you need to have it reset, do you need to re-enter the ones that you entered before it is timed out?
Yes.
And then
You will
it
have
also,
to enter all of them again.
and then there's one more question in the chat that says, if I am a new contact for the organization, who do I contact to be recognized by the system?
Claims at ihcda.in.gov. The email address is inside the chat. It should be
Yep.
one of the first things in the chat. Just let me know what organization you're from and just say, hey, I'm new to the NAP program. Can you please help send me the information I need to get established? And I'll get you the profile info.
Okay. I think Noelle, did you have another question?
No, that was it.
Perfect. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the webinar. Have a nice day. And again, I'm always available for you. Just give us shoot us a quick email at claims@ihcda.in.gov. Thank you, Desiree, for the time.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. We are going to get back into the PowerPoint. All right. So we will, can everyone see the PowerPoint again?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So for the NAP summary, obviously the Neighborhood Assistance Program um, provides $2.5 million in tax credits annually. So you do have to reapply every year if you are a nonprofit organization interested in this. NAP credits are worth 50% of the value of a contribution, and they're deducted from the donor state tax liability. So essentially, the donations are reported to us, and we prepare all the documents from IHCDA online and send that report to the Department of Revenue, and they apply the credit to the donor's tax liability. So this is our NAP partner site. A lot of your content, any documents, any links will be found on our NAP website. So if you look here, it shows the current neighborhood assistance program, and it has the manual. You definitely want to take a look at that. Any additional reporting instructions. And this webinar, like I said, will be posted and it'll be right here in the same section. There's also additional NAP resources. You can find the donor contribution form. Nothing's changed from last year, so we're just going to continue using that form. So with the award process, so there's a formula below. Um, Everyone has received their credits, and basically this formula is used to determine how much each applicant gets. So the amount of credits you receive is based on the total that has been requested in your agency's request rather than at our discretion. So if you're wondering how we came up with the actual amount, this is how. So NAP agreement, I know we had a question. So you should have received all of your NAP agreements this year through Adobe Sign. If you're still having issues, please let me know. There was 251, so I know some agencies had firewalls and other things preventing Adobe from sending the contract. So I definitely want to make sure we both have it on file. If you did sign it through Adobe, you should get the final copy back. So once IHCDA signed it, you should automatically get another copy back. Looking at your agreement at the top, you will see the agreement number, and that is the 2022 NP number Lisa was talking about. So that is the award number you're going to use. Um, if you have any, questions, definitely read your contract first. The contract also has, reporting deadlines and consequences if these deadlines are missed. So NAP award versus funds raised. So this can get a little bit tricky. The credits that you actually distribute to are referred to as your award, which is under the credit limit section, Exhibit A, if you're looking at your agreement. The funds you raise, and if you sell all your credits, should be 2 times the amount. So, for example, if you are giving some of the organizations, the most that was given was 11,100 this year. So when you sell all your credits, you're technically raising $22,200. And like I mentioned, it's 50%. So if the donor gives you $200 as a contribution, they should receive $100 in the actual tax credit. So it's cut in half. If you want to distribute $1,500 in credits to a donor, they need to contribute $3,000. Um, so agencies were able to allocate and sell their credits starting July 1. They should, like I said, if there's any questions of your document, please let me know. Credits for donations can only be claimed on a calendar year basis. So if you're selling credits currently, this will reflect on the donor's 2022 tax year. Eligible donors. So nothing has changed from last year. Organizations or corporations, um, and it kind of breaks it down a little bit. I'm not going to read this PowerPoint verbatim, but it does break it down in our manual how you can qualify as an eligible donor. Families and couples and individuals are able to donate to the program. The only thing, just like last year, no charitable organizations or foundations are able to donate. All right, eligible donations: cash, check, credit cards, stocks, contributions through the United Way, in-kind donations, and property donations. And it must be used on the NAP activity that was described in the application. We have come across a few situations where the agency needs to use it on something else that is still a NAP approved activity. That can be done. However, it does need to be approved ITA, because when we get to the end of the year, we're going to look and see what the funds were used on, and compare it to what the application stated. Ineligible contributions: um, services, supplies, equipment are not eligible. In-kind donations, like mentioned before, donations from charitable organizations and foundations, membership dues and fees are all ineligible contributions. So there are limits when it comes to contributions. Multiple donations are allowed. So if a donor wants to contribute to 5 different agencies, they are more than capable of doing so. If multiple donations are made to one agency from different donors, just make sure you're keeping that documentation. All documentations are credit eligible, so the donor should receive a contribution form for each donation. One single donor can only claim up to $25,000 in total credits, and that is listed in our manual, and that is the same that it's been for several years now. Even if they've donated to several organizations, they cannot meet that cap within a calendar year. And we ask that if you are receiving donations, that it is at least $100 just for documentation purposes, unless the agency has less than $50 left in their credits and you want to sell, if you want to, max it out to that 100%. But overall, if you're just receiving general donations, we do ask if you keep it at least $100 minimum. So here is the donor contribution form. You've probably seen this. So you definitely want to fill it out. And also, you want to keep a copy for your agency, and you want to give the donor a copy of this. It is posted on our website. Okay, so some examples when you're donating, when you're receiving some of these credits. So NAP Agency A has $5,000 left in credits. The donor contributes $10,000. The donor receives the agency's remaining $5,000 credits. So nothing has changed. Even if the donor has received or is giving a bunch, we cannot max out what the agency has received. NAP Agency B has the donor contributes $12,000. Unfortunately, the donor still only gets that $5,000 credit, so that does not change. All right, on to the next slide. Keeping. I believe someone asked this earlier. So you can go through this list, and depending on the type of donation you're receiving, that is a type of documentation you're going to want to keep. 5 years for you to keep these documents. All right. Any questions so far about the contribution and documentation before we get into actual benchmark and reporting?
There are a couple questions in the chat and also a hand raised. I'll do the questions in the chat and then we'll go to the person with the hand raised. So the first one is, I try to discourage donor advised funds donations to NAP, but have a donor who wants to. Is there a more simple explanation?
Let's see. Let me go back. So so you're um so you're saying it's more complex? Or can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, Alexa.
Yeah, the question was, I try to discourage donor advised donations
Hmm.
to NAP, but have a donor who wants to. Is there a more simple explanation? And it says the donor advised fund portion is confusing. Jennifer, I don't know if there's anything you want to elaborate on this question. You can unmute if there is.
Um, s- so I'm going to keep it going. Unfortunately, the Department of Revenue is very strict. So what is required, there's unfortunately no way around it. But I will definitely take notes to see if there's anything maybe future we can kind of brainstorm to come up with. But we definitely don't want the donor denied tax credit when it comes time for him to report that. So the Department of Revenue has made that straightforward a requirement.
The other question in the chat is in the credit computation point one, the describe type. Would one of those options be that you listed, like check or credit card?
Um, yes, yes.
That is all that is in the chat currently, but there was a hand raised. I don't know who it is now because the hand is now down, but you can unmute and ask the question now.
Thank you so
That was
much.
me, Nikki, Hope of Evansville. I couldn't figure out how to keep my hand up either. So I have a question because we are actually in the process of trying to purchase a new location that we plan to rehab and utilize as our office space.
Hmm.
If they wanted to use NAP credits for a portion of the purchase price, could we do that? Because I saw on the last slide you were just on that an eligible contribution was property donation.
Right. So are you guys building new or is it a donation?
It would, no, we would not be building new. We would be doing extensive rehab on an existing building.
Hmm. Okay. If you would send me an email after this, because there may be some more details with that to
Okay.
see if I would have to check to see if that is allowable. I don't want to
All
tell
right.
you the wrong thing.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
I think there is one more hand raised. Noelle?
Hi, yes, I was just wondering, for help with our donors, is there any part of the form that we should complete before mailing it to them?
Um, I don't think so. You can of course put the agreement number, um, but other than that, they should be, spelling out how much they are donating to the agency.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I believe that's it for right now, Desiree.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move along. So the NAP program timeline. So obviously the program year has already kicked off. That 60% benchmark report, also known as the first half, that's going to capture the start all the way to the end of the year. That should actually say 12/31/22. My apologies, I'll have to edit that. So now until the end of December, that report is going to be due January 17th on the IHCDA online website. And like Lisa mentioned before, if there's any issues, please let us know. Also, do not wait until January 16th to if you're having system issues and we need to reset the database, or if you're a new user, please reach out to us as soon as possible to make sure you have that access. The 100% benchmark report is going to capture the beginning of the year, January 1 to March 31st, and that report is going to be due April 17th. And all reports typically close at 5 p.m. Eastern. I know that was, an issue we ran into last year with some of the reporting, but it does close And then as far as the last day to distribute any credits, if you miss both of those benchmarks, we still want you to max out all the credits. So that date is going to be June 30th. And then the closeout report is due next September. So that form will become available here soon. And that closeout report is due regardless. So say you sell all your credits um, by the end of this year and you don't have to do the 100% benchmark report, that's fine, but you still do have to do the closeout report regardless. Okay, so reporting donor contributions. So each NAP recipient agency is responsible for reporting donor contributions on the online system. And like Lisa already went through, the donor's information from the contribution form should be put into the system. Um, ICDA, we submit that report to the Department of Revenue in January. So you want to make sure you're getting that information in there correctly and let us know if you need us to open it so that you can re-enter any data. So why is reporting important? It really assists the state on keeping track of how many credits have been sold and help us ensure we haven't allocated too much. It also allows us to monitor the progress of NAP reporting and the NAP recipients. And then it provides documentation um, for reporting credits to the Department of Revenue. So the reporting process, like we've talked about already, there's a 60%, 100%, and the closeout report. All contributions must be reported on this. Lisa already kind of went through and told you you'll put the name, address, tax ID, the data contribution, and the amount. And then the closeout report is going to be done on JOT form. So we've kind of already went through this. The first half report, you want to sell a minimum of 60% of those credits. If this benchmark is not met, eligibility could be compromised. There's also NAP reporting instructions on the NAP website. So if you don't know, after this webinar, if you just kind of want a quick rundown on how to do your reporting, you can utilize these resources. So deallocation, reallocation. We get a lot of questions from organizations asking if there's extra funding out there. So currently everything, the 2.5 has been allocated. However, in the past, there has been situations that we have reallocated funds. However, it's not been a recent thing. So in the past, if agencies essentially didn't utilize their funding and didn't meet the benchmark, we would reallocate those to organizations who had. So when we actually did this, we were only seeing around 30 organizations to deallocate, and unfortunately over 100 that were eligible for the reallocation. So when we did the formula, agencies were getting less than $500 in credits. So given that this process is very extensive, we opted not to reallocate last year. So we'll just have to see how this year goes. I'm hoping that most agencies will spend down their funding and sell all their credits. However, there is also a chance for reallocation. And then agencies eligible for deallocation and get their credits, they will lose eligibility. So if they're not selling all their credits, they may lose eligibility for the next round. Okay, so the 100% benchmark that on later, that will be, next year. It should actually be April 2023. So this report will reflect 100% of the organization's total credit allocation. organizations that are unable to sell 100% of theirs by the end of the year, we still ask that they try to sell it by June 30th, even if they don't meet the 100% benchmark. However, it could affect their eligibility for funding for the next year. Okay, so you're probably wondering what JAT form actually looks like. So it's a link that you'll be sent to, and this is just an example of last year's closeout report. So you're not going to go into the IHCDA online database. It's just a simple link that you'll go to and answer some questions about how the credits were actually sold. It really just goes into detail on that. And this will be due next September 27th, 2023. And like mentioned before, NAP is a very competitive program. So if you're late on submitting your report, that could affect your eligibility to max out credits. And if you don't send a closeout report at all, that could actually affect the loss of eligibility for the next 3 program rounds. So claiming NAP credits. If your donor's tax credits are denied by the Department of Revenue, they will more than likely notify you. So the donors, will contact you. You want to double check and make sure the contribution was actually made and reported, and that your agency reported that in our system correctly. So if everything was done correctly, you're going to reach out to IHCDA and let us know, hey, our donor was denied from the Department of Revenue. So that really gets us involved, and we're kind of like the middleman. We reach out to the Department of Revenue, let them know the situation. They will just confirm the name. Sometimes it's the Social Security number and just the amount of credits that the donor should be receiving. And then just depending on the time of year, sometimes it can take a few weeks. Sometimes the Department of Revenue gets back to me in a day. I know this year has really been a little bit of a challenge. They've explained they've had, high turnover. So we have had some issues with donors, and I've just had to resend reports, and they've been able to get them adjusted. But agencies should not reach out to the Department of Revenue directly. Please consult with us so that we can give the Department of Revenue the correct information. Okay, so if you have a program question, you're going to want to email the NAP inbox, which is nap@ihcda.in.gov. There's 251 organizations, so if you could please utilize the subject line and include your organizational name, contract number, and then what the question or issue is related to, that would really help us narrow down and answer your emails correctly and quickly. If you have any questions about the claims website, the IHCDA online, please reach out to claims@ihcda.in.gov. If you have a new staff coming on and they need access, please reach out to claims and they'll quickly be able to give them the rights to report. Next steps. So like I said, if you're not already registered, please get registered. You can utilize the NAP reporting instructions on the NAP website to prepare for that first 60% benchmark. If you've already started selling, please do this and do not wait until the last minute if you're having any issues. And a lot of times it is hard giving a call back. So email is the quickest and best way to get a hold of IHCDA. So if you have any questions, I'm finding email just to stay on top of it. Okay, any last questions?
There are quite a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
The first one is, we have employees who want to give through payroll deduction. Do we count these as cash and have them fill out a NAP contribution form that counts all the donations together once we've received them?
You said
For payroll deduction.
I will have to check on that. I'll write that question down. I'm sorry.
I will make a note of that as well. The second one is the 60% report available now?
Yes, it is. If your agency is already, if you already have access to the online system, you should be able to go in and do that currently.
The next question is, when will last year's closeout report that is due this September become available?
So last year's has already been made available. So if you've had credits from the 2021 program year, that is due this September. Um, that has been available for quite some time. So if you need that link, you can email the NAP inbox and I can get that to you.
The next question is, we have sold all of our credits to one person all at once. Do we fill out the same info for all 3 reporting benchmarks?
Okay, that is awesome. You will only have to submit the first half report, so you can put all your donors on that first report. That isn't due until January. And then the only other report you would have to do is the closeout report. So you can go ahead and bypass the 100% benchmark report.
The next question is, if a donor is having an issue with the credits that have been denied and the organizations have verified that it is correctly reported to IHCDA, who should I direct them to contact? Who is the contact at IDOR?
Okay. So not there's not just one person. From my understanding from the Department of Revenue, I'm not dealing with just one person. So if you send that request to the Department of or to the NAP inbox, um, we have worked effortlessly in just calling and working with different people. I can't even tell you how many times um, to get those adjusted.
And then it said on a previous slide, I thought the closeout report was due June 2023. Now that I see the date is September 27th, 2023, could you clarify the date?
Sure. So on the slide, I was just showing it an example of the 2021, but it is due in September. So for this current grant of 2022, that will be due next September.
And then I believe the final question is, can a closeout report be submitted early?
Yes, absolutely. So we're not going to open up the closeout reports just yet um, because there's been issues in the past where agencies have filled out the wrong program year. So we're probably going to wait until after this closeout report from 2021 is complete, which is September, and then we will open up the new closeout report. So wait until the end of September for the new one to be created.
Couple more questions came through. On the previous slide showed the donor form. Where do we find the agreement number?
So on the donor form,
Yes.
okay, let me see. So the agreement number is on the contract. On the actual donor form, if you look on the first line, it says date of contribution and then it says agreement number. And that is where you will put the 2022-NP dash whatever your number is, 031.
And then the final question is, previously the donor has refused to give us a social security number. Do you accept the benchmark report without a social security number?
The benchmark report shouldn't be asking for any social security numbers. However, on the the closeout report should not, but on the benchmark, I believe it's going to be social security numbers or tax ID number is the other option. So if they don't want to give their social security and they have a tax ID, they can use that. All right. Are there any other questions, Alexa?
I am not seeing them, but if there is something that I'm missing in the chat, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute right now.
Okay. Um,
for the questions that you have to look into that you said you'd get back to us, how will we get those answers?
So for those few people, if you'll send me just a quick email so I know which organization to respond to. I know there was a few that asked specifically about what the donor would be considered, if it would be a cash or a, if you'll just send me an email and I'll get back to you.
So what email address would that be?
nap@ihcda.in.gov. Here, I can share it really quick. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any further questions, please just email NAP. My name is Desiree, so I am currently the only one monitoring the inbox. So I should be able to get back to you pretty quickly. And if nothing else, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you.